Hello. Can you see me?
Hola. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Can you see me? I can't. I don't know
I
if
cannot see you. I see your name though.
weird. Why is it? What is going? Oh wait, here we go.
Hello there.
How are ya?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited that we get to take two on the conversation.
Yeah.
Um,
How's
I
your
re- you said what?
How's your day been so far?
It's been good. I went to the beach this morning. I decided to kind of get up and make myself move before
Yeah.
everybody else woke up, and so that was
Yeah.
nice. And
Nice.
you text me about 8:30, like, yeah, I'm done with all my errands. And I was like, okay, get
Well,
it.
yeah. We usually because there's construction going on literally next door to our building. They're building like a whole building. So at like 7, it's like you can't even sleep anymore because of construction noise. But now it's like because we got so used to it, this like the whole year, we just get up at 7. And then like just because it's safer to like grocery shop hella early in the morning, we were like, let's just knock it out. Like, so we just do everything super early now, which is better. I like it that way actually. It feels
Yep.
good to get stuff done like super early in the morning, you know?
Yeah. And then the
Um,
rest of the day you feeling achieved,
yeah,
and accomplished.
yeah, so it's like a nice change of pace. Like I never thought I'd be a morning person just because I used to hate waking up for work, but it's like now I'm like up at 7 and we're just like doing stuff in the morning, like having coffee or whatever, and like yeah.
Yeah. You a whole new person, Maria.
I, I know, right? Crazy. Who am I?
The
Yeah,
happier version of you.
yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Still getting there, but I like it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I liked how you talked about in the last episode of Good Tea and Jam,
Mhm.
the writing that you were doing and how like you realized in your growing up that's like what you used to do naturally as your therapy. Because I was thinking like, what was mine, not to say that I didn't write because I think writing was a part of it, but mine was coloring. Like
Yeah,
I would color. Like in
it's like
ISS, when I was getting in trouble, all that, I would have a coloring book. I do all my
yeah,
work, finish that, and then just color for the rest of the day. So
nice.
I appreciate you for saying that because I went and got me a coloring book. And
Oh my God. You know what is so funny? I have like literally all these coloring books. I got
whoa.
like that's so funny. Which kind do you have?
Well, I got this one.
Oh, the mandala ones.
Yeah.
I have one that's kind of similar to that, but it's called Doodle Invasion. So it's like super super intricate, but it's like time consuming, but in the best way possible.
Right.
Like it's so funny that you do the same thing.
Yay. Look at us. We're getting healthy.
I started like when the first lockdown happened. I was like, okay, that's when I was like, okay, I need to start doing things that's gonna keep me busy or like keep me entertained during the day. And that was one of the things that I thought of. So I bought like a couple coloring books, like adult coloring books, and then some color pencils to to do the same thing, which
I
is
like
funny.
it.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what it is, but like, you give your mind a task that is, it takes concentration, it takes that
Yeah.
focus, but it's also displaying your creativity. I'm
Yeah.
picking the colors, what I'm
Right. Right.
saying? It does something to I guess for me, it definitely just frees up my mind.
Yeah.
And
No,
it does the same thing that I think that when I smoke, marijuana, that kind of same thing. It slows down my thinking
yeah.
process to where I'm not having multi layers of thought. So at
Mhm.
least one layer is so busy that I can hear what I'm thinking
Yeah.
when I'm
That makes
coloring and stuff like that.
yeah. Yeah, it's I love coloring. It's fun. But yeah, I was gonna have a call with Kyrie earlier because she's gonna start doing like a tax preparing business. And so she was like, "Do you want a job?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Right.
Yeah, so I just help her do like administrative stuff and like things like that. So we're just kind of trying to figure it out and like how it's gonna go and everything, just because it's like her startup business, and like right now I think one of her clients is like Kahim, so she's been helping him with his like business tax stuff, and then
That's good.
so we're just getting ready to get it into gear, for the new year.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Have you begun to do any of your clothes videos? I know like you're deep into fashion.
I haven't, only because I don't know. I think getting used to recording myself probably is something that I need to do, just because I'm like, it feels so weird. Like, I don't know, like I could play with my clothes all day, but once I have like something watching me, even if it's like just me recording myself, it's like I clam up, and it's not like I'm like recording it live or anything, or like posting live or anything like that, but I haven't recorded myself doing anything like that. However, I did yesterday. I like kind of I went into kind of like an organizing mode after I
Nice.
like cleaned up a little, and I started like going through all my stuff and just like reorganizing, kind of, I guess, like inventory type stuff, because like it's still like stuff that I like to do, going through clothes and stuff. So I just started sifting through my own stuff. But I haven't really done any like recording myself or anything like that, not yet anyway. Especially since like I kind of like switched my focus since I'm gonna start working again, especially doing this project with Kai. So I haven't really done that yet. Not to say that I won't, especially because I think sometime next week, me and Kahim are gonna go to this rag house. He met some guy who like runs this like big warehouse somewhere, and it's just all like vintage clothes apparently. And he was like, I guess it's like by appointment or so right now, just because they're probably trying to limit. But he showed me pictures because his friend took him, and it's like this huge warehouse, and it's literally like tables stacked with denim, and there's like racks and racks of all different types of like clothes, and they just separated kind of like by article. And he was thinking about doing a project where he kind of like repurposes or reworks some clothes. So I was like, yeah, let's totally go, because like I love sifting through stuff, but I know Kahim isn't really that type of person. So just like, yeah. So I think that we're gonna do that sometime next week, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
I'll let you go, so that like if you guys ever want to like go, like I haven't been yet, so I don't even know what to expect, but I'm excited.
Right. Well, can I go ahead and tell you I want to go? Like, do I have to wait for you to go to tell you I
Let
want to go?
me ask Kahim, because since he's the one who's like coordinating everything.
Because I don't have to go on this time, but I am sure that I want to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
That sounds like a pirate's
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that, because yeah, I haven't done that in so long. Like, so that I'm looking forward to that. That'll be cool.
Nice.
So I'll probably like take some video, and I'll probably be sending you some stuff just so you can see what it looks like in there.
I would like that. I would like
yeah.
that. What do clothes like mean to you? What do they do to you when you put them on?
I mean, I've always thought of it as like, it's the one thing that I feel like I have the most control over, or at least that's how I felt before. Like, and not only that, but like, especially like it, that question kind of makes me think back to when I was a kid, because that's when I would play in my mom's closet. Like, like we'd be putting on all her like outdoor clothes, and like, playing with her heels and her makeup, and like, and then when we got cable and I saw like the first music video I saw was Mary J. Blige, Real Love. And
nice.
That like was like, what? Like, I paid attention to every single like thing she was wearing, what her dancers were wearing, and like, and then so like that's kind of where what I go back to when I like, if I go to the thrift store and I'm like looking through stuff, is like how I used to feel when I was a kid, and what made me even pay attention to like, ooh, I want to wear cute stuff and I want to look cool and fashion and stuff, you know, like it was literally like, you know, like a combination of pretending to be grown as a, as a little kid, and then, you know, with the whole like MTV life, you know, because when I was a kid, like we used to literally like get ready for school while music videos were on, you know, and we would like sing around with my mom, dance around with her, like, you know, stuff like that. So like, I think clothes kind of give me that nostalgia of like those times that will stay with me forever, you know, like, so, and just like, I don't know, I think also like just the way like when you put something on and instantly like you feel different, you know, like especially, and that's something that I think is huge, you know, like if it's like a mood changer, like if I put something on and I was feeling shitty, but now I feel like good because of what I have on, not even necessarily like in like a shallow way or anything, but it just like the fact that that something like that, just getting dressed and putting something cute on would impact, you know, my mood to the fullest, like I was all for it, you know, it's like, so that's kind of like how I feel when I think about like, you know, clothes and like thrifting and things like that, is just kind of like, it just ties into like when I was a kid, you know?
What are your
So
favorite pieces of clothing, or what are your favorite articles of clothing?
I think hands down, outerwear, like coats and shoes are like my favorite by far articles of clothing. Cause like it's funny, like even though we live in LA and like there's no need for heavy coats, I still have like all my vintage coats from when we lived in the East Coast because they're dope and they look cool. And it's like, I don't know, it's just like the shell that show like before, you know, those little like Russian resting dolls where it's like you open one and then there's like something else inside. That's how I kind of feel with clothes, you know? So it's like that first outerwear piece is like, that's what's gonna make the statement first. And then you like do layer by layer by layer, you know? So I always liked building outfits around shoes and whatever outerwear I was gonna wear for the day. So I'm very much a coat person. And I love like anything like grandma chic, you know, like those fur collar vintage coats or like printed faux fur, like, you know, those kind of coats. Cause my grandma used to wear that kind of stuff too when I was growing up. So I love that aesthetic a lot, you know, like, and I already know like when I'm an old lady, I'm going to be wearing like head to toe leopard and I'm going to be like, all, you know, like just still into the same thing. I feel like if not, I'll probably like be decked out more when I'm older than I do now, you know, nowadays, you know, just because also because like when I worked in the like resale market in New York, a lot of the women that I was catering to were 50 plus older, you know? So like I saw how you could be literally like in your 60s but still look fly, you know? You don't have to look like a grandma or, you know, how people just think old ladies dress, you know? It's like I saw the flyest old women and like they were wearing dope stuff, and it wasn't all just like they were wearing like designer or whatever. They were just wearing whatever they wanted to wear, you know? It's like they didn't care about what trends or nothing. It's just like, oh, I feel like I want to wear this today and it looks amazing on, you know? So that was kind of like inspirational to me, you know, like or something to look forward to, I think, you know, like I can still dress how I want, and you know, like I don't have to like adhere to whatever the dress code should be for that age group, because I don't like the idea of that, like, you know, this should be age appropriate. Like I don't think that's necessarily a thing, you know, like for the most part, you know.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
So when working with these ladies, like what kind of like wisdom did you gain from what they told you or the interactions that you had?
Well, I honestly, it was like, it was a mix with a lot of these women. Like a lot of them were super confident, but a lot of times they'd be like, I can't wear that, my body is like too, you know, like, or if I was your age I could wear this or that. So like it was always like a mix between women who didn't care and they're like, I'll wear whatever, like I'll wear a crop top when I'm 65, and I'm like, hell yeah. But then there was also those women that I met that were like, no, I can't wear that, even though they looked amazing, you know, like they could literally wear anything. So like I feel like it just kind of taught me like, you know, you can be confident, but also it's like not everyone has that confidence as they get older, you know, like when I was, you know, like in my preteens and then in my teens, I was always thinking of, I can't wait till I get older because I'll never feel insecure and I'll never feel that way. You know, I'm going to be amazing and, you know, do XYZ and be like super confident. But I didn't realize that it's not like a switch just turns on, you know, and
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So I kind of saw that in the women that I was working with, because I kind of assumed even as I was like in my like early 30s at the time and stuff, like you know, as I get older, that feeling of like that insecurity or whatever it is, like it doesn't necessarily go away unless you actively like work to make, you know, to like change that mindset. And I saw that in the women that I thought were fly as hell, but they themselves were looking at themselves in a different way, you know, like some of them, and they were more, you know, they were like seasoned in the game and still feeling like, I can't do this, I can't do that. And so that kind of just let me know, like, you know, like there's really no age limit on, you know, how you feel about yourself, or like, or even just like insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of made me like try to appreciate myself in every stage of my life, which is kind of like when I started, like I think we touched on it the other day, where, you know, like I don't want to feel weird about aging or like feel bad about myself because I'm getting older, you know, because it's inevitable, right? Like,
Right.
you know, it's gonna happen whether we want it or not, you know, like you could take care of yourself to, you know, to not speed up the process, I guess. But for the most part, it's just like, I want to be able to be accepting for myself in every age. So like, I kind of saw that, you know, it can be a mixed bag, even the older that you get, you know, regardless of how wise you are or not, it's just, you know, one of those things. So like, so, and then too, at the same time, I saw my mom and a lot of those women who were insecure because my mom is that way. So like, it made me want to help them get out of their shell by like, you know, encouraging them to try something on that they would normally never look at, because in their mind they're like, I can never pull that off, you know. So then I was like, well, like now I need to start following my own advice for that in different aspects, you know. So it was really cool to like work with a lot of these women, because, you know, whether they realize it or not, they gave me a lot of insight, you know, because, you know, like I also treated them like they weren't just an old lady, if that makes any sense. Like I would notice how some of those women would come in and people would talk to them like almost like they were little kids, like they're senile, even though they're like absolutely not, you know, like, or like someone feeling like bothered by the, you know, by these women because they feel intimidated because we're young to them, and they're, you know, they're coming in and they don't want to feel like they're just like some old, you know, some old lady. Because a lot of them would tell me those kind of things. That's why, like, I think that's why I got along better and I sought out those clients more than working with like young people, because of that fact. Because I think like, especially for women probably like past the age of 30s, like you just kind of fall by the wayside as far as like what people consider like, you know, being like, even like you know, just like a beautiful woman, or like, you know, someone who has vitality or whatever. And it's like, people just kind of think it stops at your 30s, and then it's like, you're still alive, like, you know. So I just kind of was, it was kind of like a mutual thing where like I would help them and they would help me, even though they didn't realize it, you know. And 9 times out of 10, like they lived like the most amazing lives, like they had the best stories to tell, and like, and they would just come in and just literally come in just to like hang out and talk, you know, like, and that was totally fine with me. Like I used to love that. And then like what ended up happening was some of them, like when I left especially when I left New York, I was so surprised by how these clients that I had were like really like, we're genuinely going to miss you. Like, you know, they started giving me like gifts and stuff like as a parting gift. And I mean, it touched me in a way where I was just like, I didn't realize like that, you know, our interactions meant that much, but it's cool that it did, you know, because like I really did enjoy my time with my clients that were over a certain age, you know.
Nice.
But yeah, like I think if anything, it teaches you how to be mindful of people's like, you know, like discomforts and things like that, like, and just kind of helping people realize, you know, that you can, uh, you know, I guess in regards to like clothing and everything, like, you know, you can dress however you want, you know, like you can try this and put it on. There's nothing wrong with trying it out, even if you think it's not your style or whatever, like, or it's not age appropriate, like that's not really a thing, you know, like, so it was cool to do that. And honestly, like it just kind of helped me be able to just like interact with any and everyone, you know, like not just young people or whatever, you know. I enjoyed it more too, honestly. Like it was cool. But yeah.
That's really dope. And for you to be willing to take the difference in their experience and use that as a spectrum that you can learn from, I think that's some good tea, like, you know, how to integrate what you're witnessing into your life and something that can help you out. Like that's
Yeah.
smart in
And
general.
it's funny because like at the time, like I never thought about it that way, you know, like I never really did. I was just like, I'm glad I had really cool clients, you know, that's kind of as far as I thought about it. But it wasn't until like afterwards, you know, like hindsight, where I was like, damn, like it really was more than just like, you know, them coming in to shop every couple weeks or whatever, you know. It was like, so I was, you know, like I'm glad I got that kind of experience, you know, because it was super new for me anyway. Like even in the atmosphere that I was in there, like, you know, I was more used to working at like big box retailers like H&M and stuff, and like that's not kind of like the vibe you get. You don't go there and clientele with customers, you know. But like working in a more smaller setting, it also forced me to have to like come out of my shell and, you know, talk to people, because my job is to keep them at ease so they can like feel good with what they're trying on and things like that. So it was all like a really cool thing to like learn and to like, you know, just have that in my back pocket, you know, like but yeah, it was dope. I liked it a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
You and I have a similar experience about moving across country. You have done it one more time than I have, though.
Yeah.
So tell me about like the mental shifts that have to take on when you move to a different part of the country. Because as we know, New York, California, two different. East Coast, California, two
Yeah.
different. How do you do it?
That's it. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. It was hard. The first time it was hard, but I was open to it because I always wanted to live in New York.
Mhm.
So like even though I didn't get there the way that I always thought that I would, I was there, you know? So like it was really scary. It honestly like it when I moved to the East Coast, it took me uh I want to say like when I was finally like getting into the groove of things, it took me about like 6 months, and that was only because that's how long it took me to get a job.
Mhm.
And so like once I started working, I was like, okay, like I feel kind of normal now, like, you know, like so that was easy. But coming back to California, that was a whole different story. Like I kind of underestimated how my transition was going to be when I came back, because I just assumed, even though like I had never even been to LA before moving here. I didn't have friends out here, like I didn't know anyone. And it's ironic because like it was the same thing in New York. I only had one relative that lives out there and I knew zero people. But somehow, like I guess because underneath it all, like I always aspired to like wanting to live in New York. Like I was obsessed with wanting to move there when I was a kid. It started off with Sesame Street because Sesame Street took place there, but it just kind of like you know, in high school, my whole fantasy was I was going to be a DJ and I was going to move to New York and I was going to like work for Angie Martinez. And like, you know, like I had this whole like thing. So like, it was easier to like make myself adjust to that with the, even with the lack of not having family, because I never even moved away from the Bay at that point, you know? So like that helped. But coming here, it was hard because like we came here so that Kahim can further his business. And I was like super down for it, but I didn't really take into account how I was gonna handle it here. I was so more focused on like us being here for the, you know, for the business, not, you know, so I didn't really mentally prepare myself or anything. So once we got out here, I was like depressed. It took like a good almost 2 years, honestly. Like it wasn't until last year that I really was like, okay, I feel like this is home now, you know, but like up until that point, I was fighting it so hard, you know, and it really was me fighting it a lot. And I think it was because I felt like my time in New York wasn't up yet at that time, you know, but, you know, we're a unit. So it's like, there has to be, you know, there's a give and take, you know? So, so it was, I would say like moving the second time was probably the hardest for me in that, because of that, you know, because I just felt like I wanted to do all this stuff in New York and I had all this stuff in my head that I wanted to do, but it wasn't working out for Kahim, you know, and it sucked that it wasn't working out for him and it was affecting him a lot, you know, it was affecting him mentally, emotionally, you know, his business. It just wasn't, it didn't make sense. And, you know, so I had to like really like, because obviously it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to stay here and you go to LA. Like that was never, ever a thing. But, you know, I was just like, I made the leap when we moved to New York. I could do the same thing in LA. I could make it work. It doesn't, just because it's not like the geographical setting that I would have wanted to be in, doesn't mean that I can't make something happen. And that honestly didn't really click for me until like my lack of adjustment started affecting our relationship. Honestly, like that's kind of where it really put things into perspective for me, you know. But I'm not gonna lie, it was hard. It was hard the second time. I think it was really hard because of that fact, you know, because I just wasn't ready to leave yet. So I think, yeah, I think, you know, but it was like a good thing too, because then that's, you know, once we came here is when I fully accepted the fact that like, you know, how I'm handling things is not a healthy way to handle things. And, you know, just taking accountability, like it really forced me to do that, which is amazing because, you know, like I never had that thought process before. And, you know, it took something like moving, you know, which, you know, it's like, what do they say? Like there's 7 life-changing events that happen in your life that really like, it's always the hardest to like adjust to. And it's like, you know, like a loss of someone or like the death of someone, or like moving is hard, and like, you know, all those kind of hard transitional things. And I just realized that like I didn't even know how to handle it. So like so it was, I think of it now in that way, like, you know, I kind of had to come here even though I didn't realize I had to, you know, like I just fought it so hard and it was just like there was no reason to, you know, like me fighting it was making things worse for myself, you know, because I kept convincing myself that I'll be happier there, but that's not necessarily true, you know, because like it's like just kind of using that as like an easy escape to like not, you know,
Do the
you know
work.
what I'm saying? Like, so it's like I could easily be like, oh, well, like I'll be happy once this happens, instead of like really taking the time to look around and be like, you know, like I'm happy now. Once, you know, me being happy is going to make XYZ happen, not the other way around. You know what I'm saying? So like once I kind of got rid of that mentality, I was actually able to like appreciate living in LA a little more. And like, you know, I started making friends, and that helped a lot, because that was another thing. Like I didn't realize how hard it is to make friends in your 30s. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, what the heck? Like, because it's like, like, I don't know, like it's a weird thing, I guess. So I was just like, how am I gonna, like, I just felt so like isolated. It was a weird thing, you know. And then like what helped is, like, you know, having friends that are like, yeah, it is kind of hard to like make new friends in your 30s. And that made me feel better, because I'm like, is it me? Like, you know, is there something wrong with me that, like, you know, and that kept turning into like shittier thoughts of like, well, I don't deserve to have friends because XYZ, you know. And so that definitely didn't help with my transition here, you know. So like just even talking about it, I start catching like all the things that I was doing to like not deal with, you know, or not, you know, realize the bigger picture, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like in the sense for you guys, like moving like back cross country, I think once you guys get back home, it's like, you know, you're home already. So it's almost like it might feel like, you know, you almost never left in a way.
Oh,
But
I'm fine with moving back to California. It's Hashin, California's home.
yeah,
Georgia is my home, but I don't be
yeah,
feeling like I want to stay in any one place. So
yeah,
I would like a home there, a home
yeah,
here, a home in New York, you know?
right. Yeah, so I think like, I think if anything, it for you guys, because, you know, it's a different mindset, you know, than it was for me. But like it's more like a logistical thing, because it is a lot, like it does get kind of stressful with, like, you know, with the whole like just transferring of stuff and, like, you know, your home to the next home, you know, like that's always kind of like a big transition anyway, you know. Just even the act of like packing stuff, sometimes it just feels a little overwhelming, you know, like the whole logistical part of it. uh, but, you know, because we were so focused on the logistical part, I didn't really like think of anything else at that point. So I wasn't ready for how I was going to feel when I came to LA. You know, I was just like, I hate it here. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, I don't have friends. I don't. And it's funny because, like, you know, all my close friends and family, they're up north in the Bay, you know, like all my family is in the Bay. So it's like I'm technically closer, but I never felt more isolated. It's so weird. Like, it's just a weird thing. And I just underestimated how I was personally going to like handle it, which I didn't very well at the time. But, you know, hindsight is a lot, you know?
Right. Well, with that in mind, like how would you get your mind together, say you were to move again? Like how would you prepare yourself mentally coming next?
I think this time around, if we were to like do a big relocation like that, where we're moving like out of state or anything like that, I, you know, just keep in mind that, you know, the place that you live isn't necessarily what defines your life and your happiness you know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I just tied everything to New York. You know, my success level is only going to happen because I was able to do it there, and that's not true, you know. So like for me, it was really just, I think, just being mindful of the way your mind can play tricks like that and just talk you into, you know, viewing things completely how they're not. Like, this time around, I would be more mentally and emotionally prepared for that, you know? Like, I mean, it's always hard regardless, like, you know, just moving from place to place, if that's the case. But like, I think now that I'm armed with like better tools to like help me, like, you know, keep myself and my emotions in check, because that's really what it comes down to for me personally, is like, I'm all emotion before anything else. You know, I've always been that way. I feel a lot, like, you know, like, whether it's good or bad or everything in between. So like, I think this time around, if we were in a situation where, you know, we relocate again, like, you know, armed with that knowledge, I can handle it better, you know. And like, and not only that, but just like communication wise with Kahim, because also like another big thing with me was like, me talking about these kind of things felt like me showing weakness, you know, or like me feeling like someone else is going to perceive me as a weak, unstable person or something. And so like, I think now that, you know, I'm way comfortable opening up about that kind of stuff, especially with Kahim, you know, and not feeling like I'm being a burden by like being able to like talk openly and like honestly, like I think that also helps a lot, because that was another thing that I used to convince myself is like, you know, no one wants to hear about that. Like, just bottle it up, like deal with it, just deal with it. But I never really did deal with it. It was just like push it down, and just like until you start feeling weird resentment and you just like target anyone, you know, like, and it's normally the people closest to you. So like those kind of realizations were like really important, especially when it comes to like major life happenings like moving and things like that, you know? So I think I'm like, I'm not gonna lie and say that it would be like super easy this time around, but at least now I would be able to recognize if I'm feeling a certain way and how to deal with it, you know, which is probably like the most important thing, you know, because like I still want to feel how I feel, but now I can like rein it in rather than just like, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
That right there is some good tea, you know, to really be able to manage your emotions and
Yeah,
dictate.
and it's hard. Like it's definitely a muscle that I'm still working on. You know, like that's like a target area for sure, because it's not easy. You know, like, and if it was, everyone would be happy and genuinely happy and well adjusted, but that's not the case. You know, so it's like sometimes I'm just like, I don't really want to work on this right now, but it's like kind of like going to the gym, you know, like there's days where you don't want to deal with these, you don't want to do it, but you have to, you got to push through that. I don't want to, the residual, you know, because it lasts a little bit. And then like, once you push through, it's like, oh, I can like keep it moving and, you know, do whatever. So like, that's another thing that, you know, that kind of falls in line with that for my personal growth, is like, not getting stuck in that I don't want to do this today, I'm going to do it some other time, you know, because then it always turns into I'm going to like keep pushing it back, because I'd rather do something that's like like not even productive anyway, you know, like so yeah, so you know, it's all like just working on it and just kind of like trying to check in with that feeling, you know, like especially, you know, and that's just a lot of what it is. And you know, but honestly, like talking about it out loud helps, you know, because, you know, it definitely helps me like keep that mindset, and it definitely lets me know where I am at now versus where I was like, you know, some time ago. So like, it's obviously like whatever I'm doing is helping. It's not like I'm doing something and I'm like, it's not working, you know, like it actually is, you know, it's just, it takes time, and it's like little by little, but that's kind of like how I'm just thinking of everything, you know, even when I get frustrated sometimes, and, you know, sometimes I'll kind of slide back a little bit, and then I'll start beating myself up, and I'm like, no, like, it'll pass. Like, you know, like not everyone has like their best days, you know, like there's some days where everyone has like an off day here and there or whatever, but it'll pass, you'll get through it, and then you can just like keep it moving. That doesn't mean that you're going to stay there forever, you know? So like, if I would never be able to even have that thought process like 6 months ago, you know? So it's like being able to do that now is crazy. It's like,
All right, I'm patting you on your back. You gotta
yeah,
pat yourself.
you know, like it's the best way possible, you know? Like I feel really good. So like the way I feel is like, you know, once I focus on helping myself, then I can do the same for like my brothers and my sisters, you know, because we all have emotional issues and things like that. Just, you know, life, you know, it happens. So, and it's funny because like one of my brothers, like I haven't talked to him in so long, and I called him yesterday, and we had a conversation about that, and we never ever have talked about anything like that before remotely. Like he's never even opened up to me about anything that has to do with like, you know, how he feels and anything like that. But we literally like had a conversation we had like a 4-hour conversation. We were just like talking about it and being open, and it was dope. And I was just like, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, just to like help each other, you know, but I realized that I wouldn't be able to help, or, you know, like in the way that I want to if I don't do it for myself first, you know? So that's also like super, super important, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of your willingness to hold space for other people because you've held space for yourself and you know the importance of that. Again, I think that's good tea, you know, to be able to hold space, you have to have a space for yourself.
Yeah.
Like
And it's just like no other way around that, you know? Like, and I always thought that I could circumvent that, you know, like, but there's just no way because, you know, like what I thought I was doing by helping others, I was really just kind of railroading myself, you know, putting myself in situations where like I'm not comfortable just to go out of the way to make that person, you know, these people comfortable, whatever. Like, you know, not that I'm saying like, you know, putting, you know, like being mindful of others is bad or anything, but like always putting everyone else before yourself is like kind of, you know, it obviously is counterintuitive. And then at that point, all I was trying to do was help fix someone else. Meanwhile, like I'm a hot ass mess, you know? So it's like, and then at the same time, it's like you start thinking, you start rationalizing in a way where it's like, well, I'm helping people, I'm helping you in whatever capacity because I genuinely care. And that means that you'll do the same for me. Like in a way, like I started getting this weird expectation of like, you know, like I help people know, you know, if anyone needs anything from me, like I'm always there. And that's still the same to this day. But like, you know, back then I would start feeling resentment when I would expect the same kind of like support and I didn't get it because I had that expectation and it's not reality, you know? So like I would just kind of like set myself up for the letdown, even though, you know, I did that myself. It wasn't that person. And so now I find myself resenting them and they don't know why, you know, like, and it took a long time to realize that, like it really did, because it started making me feel like I'll never have the relationships that I feel like I should have because no one is doing those things for me. But that's not how it works, you know, like it's not a thing. You know, like that's a very childish way of thinking about it. And it was that, you know, like that was my kid brain, you know, like still thinking for me, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it took me a long time to realize that, even to myself, like without feeling like down on myself, you know, like,
right.
yeah. But it's true, like I have to focus on myself before I fully want to help whoever I want, you know, or just be there for whoever, you know, like, but
Yeah.
yeah, so
I've been watching this woman. I don't know if I talked about it in the last episode, but her name is Love Dorsey, and
mhm.
she be getting my life together, cursing all sorts of stuff, calling me all
Yeah.
sorts of names. But one of the things that she talks about is like, you know, not giving no fucks. You know what I'm saying? And what I realize is like, you know, like until I care enough about me to take me serious, I really don't have any fucks to give to anybody else. I can't. Like, I'm not within myself enough to have anything for anybody else. So it's been helping me get the no fucks given kind of attitude without it being like the like cause if I had that attitude before this updated mindset, to me that means you've done something to me and now I'm holding something against you, so it's F off. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But that was never something that I could hold on to because that hurt me. Like, why would I want to do that to myself? But if I just I can't care about how you think. I can't care
Right.
about how you move. I can't care
Yeah.
about how you think about my moving. Like, you know, I don't have anything for you of myself until after I'm full. And then I can like, you know, give you a listening ear. I can come hang out with you, but it's still
Right.
no more givens above what I've filled myself up with.
Yeah.
So mindset shifts are something because they really give your eyes different eyes to see with, you know,
Yeah.
because once you're looking for something different, you start seeing that which is different. You really
Yeah.
do.
And it's crazy. Like it really is like almost, you know, you're looking through a new pair of glasses or something, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just you process things way differently. And before I just kind of thought that that's like bullshit. Like people just say that kind of stuff because they want to say it, you know, appear a certain way. And that's really how I used to think. And like I didn't give enough of a chance. I would just instantly close myself off to that because I mean, to be real, I was just like, I was too scared and too stubborn to want to, you know, do any kind of work to get to their mindset. You know, like I would just be like, they're annoyingly bubbly and like, that's not real life. You probably don't even have any like traumas or anything. So I'm just gonna like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And like, that's just, you know, obviously, you know, that's just crazy. But yeah.
Kashin just walked in.
Hi, Kashan.
Maria says, hi, Kashin.
Oh, hey, Maria, what's up?
But yeah.
I'm not gonna be disturbed.
Can I get 5 more minutes?
Yeah, okay.
Well, I might have to go soon.
Yeah, that's
Now because Zoom kicked us off with a little extra minutes that we got added. Thank you again for opening up your mind to share the good tea that you have with me. I really do think that the more we can have mentally healthy conversations, focusing on our health and our wellness, you know, the more that we're actually putting those things back into our minds, you know, us, you know, simultaneously color buddies, you
I
know,
know.
like
Pull that out. I was like,
yeah, you know, like those kind of things I think reaffirm, you know, the good moves that we're making for ourselves in lives. And I feel
yeah,
like we got to continue to make the good moves forward so we can really live the lives that we want to live. And I feel like that's the best tea ever. You know, you
yeah,
can create your life, so just make it good.
right. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, like, and really like just talking about it, even like the small amounts of time we've been able to these past couple of days, like, you know, like I didn't even realize that just talking about it, it makes me feel good and it makes me feel like keep it going, you know, like, and that's really important, you know. So like I do appreciate the time that you take out, especially because, you know, you're a mom and Kylan is a mile a minute. So it's like, so it's dope to be able to take like some time to have these conversations, you know.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
thank you for like, you know, sharing yourself because again, like good tea and jam is just this an idea I had because I really want to hang out with my females, but I continue to want to work. So I want to do both
Yeah.
at the same time, you know. But I also feel like these kind of conversations aren't the ones that are put on blast between women. You know, we
Yeah.
don't have conversations about us telling the good tea of what we're doing with our minds, what we're doing with our bodies, what we're doing with our hearts, so that we can actually live this good old life that can
Yeah.
be. I'm
I
glad
agree.
you're willing.
Yeah, all day. Like whenever the next session, just let me know. I,
Done.
I get up at 7 a.m. every day. So
Hey.
yeah.
All right, hey, all right, y'all heard that, okay? Whoever will esoterically be there, y'all heard that.
But yeah,
Um,
well, I'll let you go so you can have a good rest of your day.
thank you. Thank you. You too. I love you, sis. Thank you so much.
Love you. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.